Hi, I'm George Celios from Fine Scale Miniatures, and you are watching What's Neat This Week with Ken Patterson.
Okay.
It's set and wrap.
The microphone on.
Man, it feels good to be on the
I looked
camera
really
this
short
time.
on the
It's 'cause you
on
are.
the prototype model show we did. I just looked short. I don't know why that was. I
lot of
looked
people
smaller
like it.
than everybody else.
A lot of tall
I need a
people.
taller chair. All right, I'll monitor sound, guys.
So you want a high chair is what you're saying?
I do.
You're the baby that needs a high chair.
All right, Mitchell Bufoden running camera tonight. I appreciate it. This is going to be a fun show. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Give us a countdown and let's have some fun tonight. Best hobby in the world.
3, 2, 1.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you.
These are anyway.
Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. And by American Limited Models, the relentless pursuit of accuracy. Check out their website at AmericanLimitedModels.com.
Additional support is provided by Soundtracks, leaders in the model railroad sound and technology for over 30 years. For more information, visit soundtracks.com and be sure to enter the code FIREBOX at checkout on your order of $50 or more for a special surprise from Soundtracks.
Additional support is provided by Yelsma Graphics, America's leading distributor of quality railroad art and embroidered clothing since 1985. Check out their website at yelsma.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show in model railroading, show number 166 for August 14th, 2021. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight we've got, as I always say, a great group of guys. Of course, Mike Buddy's enjoying the warm sunshine and oranges down here in Florida. Congratulations, Mike, on your son's new wedding. That was awesome. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to start by introducing Campbell Rice over here. Hey, Campbell.
Hey, everybody.
On the other side of me, we've got our favorite not running camera tonight, Daniel Coombs.
Hey, guys, I'm finally here.
And James Regier just drove all the way from the middle of Kansas to get here on time. That's why we're shooting 25 minutes late. Rock and roll. Hey, James.
Hey, how's it going?
It's awesome to have you, man. I love that family picture of you and Allison and the kids on Facebook. I enjoyed looking at that.
You're not in Kansas anymore.
I've got to tell you what,
true.
this is a very exciting week for me and my family. Michelle and I are sending our son off to Rolla tomorrow to take up engineering. So rock and roll. He's going to make more money than I'm ever going to make in my lifetime. And we're just, quite frankly, proud parents. We've been loading up the car. Daniel was out there helping load up the truck tonight because Michelle's going to take him off to Rolla first thing in the morning. And there's a lot of excitement in the room about it. In fact, while we were waiting for you, we were all down here congregating in the basement, just hanging out like we always do. Michelle and Mitchell Bufoden and Austin Allard, Steve Mantia's here tonight, Campbell Rice, and Daniel Coombs. We're all just kind of hanging out. We were talking, waving at the
Just
camera.
chilling.
Monkey shines, pre-show fun, just to get ready to do the show. So it was really nice to have you guys. We've got news in that the big boy locomotive is coming to St. Louis August 28th, 29th, and the 30th. It's going to be coming up the Chester sub over here in Illinois on the 28th, mid-afternoon. And I'm going to film that from the house here because that's the way it looked back in the 50s, a long time ago, so it's going to be like old days. And then Sunday on the 29th, it will be on display in downtown St. Louis, so bring your friends, all gather around. I've seen the Challenger, and quite a few people, hundreds and hundreds of people show up for this. And it's really exciting. You get to talk to the engineer that's running the locomotive, and the whole crew from the Union Pacific will be down there. Then on Monday, it's going to Jefferson City. It's going to be leaving St. Louis, and it will make a stop in Kirkwood, Missouri, so that'll be very historic. The whole trip will be historic in the fact that a big boy has never run on the trackage around here like it's about to.
Right.
So this is making history.
And you can track it on uprailroad.com. They've got a space there where you can go in the steam locomotive and you can track it. So that'll help. So if you're rail fanning along.
Well, and it was just in Kansas all this last week, and I was just really wanting to go up and see it, but I knew no one would go along with me, so I was like, couldn't do it. But
well, you got a second chance.
Yeah, got a second chance.
I was also going to say, there's on the mobile devices now, there's like a free scanner app that you can tune into the local railroad frequency, and then you can actually hear the conversation between the crews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that. I host one of them here in St. Louis, so
you do?
It's up there, yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool. We've got a lot of neat models on the table, and if you'll notice, we've got a lot of Caterpillar bulldozers on the table. And that's because I've picked up a few of these over the course of the last few weeks. And these models, the main bulldozers I'm going to show you, don't worry about zooming in. I've got photographs to run on this, Mitchell. Thank you for running camera tonight. These are made by a company called Die-Cast Masters, and they come in very collectible metal tins. I know a lot of people like to collect these tins.
Oh, neat.
This is kind of fancy, a nice presentation, and they're not very expensive. The first ones, I've got two D9s here, and there's two variations in that the paint schemes on each one of them is different. If you all watch Gold Rush, you guys know what these are. It was
That's a fun show.
I know, right? The two I talked about the D9s. There's also a D11. That's the great one. That's the one that Parker Schnabel recently bought for last year's gold binding. It's a monster. That thing can move a lot of dirt. It's an absolutely amazing machine, and it will not fit on a flat car. The Caterpillar that I've got here, I'm going to talk about this dump truck briefly. That's also made by Die-Cast Masters. This is a CT681 dump truck, and I think that was $34.95. I picked that up at Redboard Hobbies, in fact. I walked in and said I had to have this. It needs, I would trick it out with more detail than what you actually see in these photographs here, but it's a great start for a wonderful model on your layout. Now the one that will fit on a flat car, this one's made by First Gear out of Peoria, Iowa, and this is an international bulldozer, and it fits really nicely on a flat car. In fact, I've got it on this, I think that's a Tangent flat car that I picked up at Mark Twain the other week, and it's like $40 for the flat car, but man, is it a nice model.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something I wanted to talk about because, Mike's not here to talk about all of his wonderful vehicles, and I thought and obviously you want to paint the track silver and just get prototype photographs of actual bulldozers and then copy what you see.
Chip them up, yeah.
Right. So that's something else that I wanted to talk about tonight. Just kind of interesting material.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Campbell, you brought a really nice boxcar tonight. Tell us about that.
Well, this is actually it's about a 30-year-old blue box Athearn car.
Oh, wow.
And it's one I had stuck in a box somewhere, and I happened to see that the Roomettes were now doing the interiors to boxcars, and one of the models they have for the interior is for the double-door Athearn 5300 series car. So I dug through my box stash and found that, and it was all pretty and green and clean, and I said, well, I've got to weather it up. So I weathered it up, stuck the Roomette's interior in it and everything. I'm about 95% done. I still got a few more things to do to it, but it's coming along. I just kind of wanted to show off what it would look like, and that way everybody could see how the Roomettes and everything looked in there. It turned out pretty well for a blue box. Of course,
Yeah, it did.
I gotta say that those old blue boxes, they're just they clean up or dirty up nicely. I mean, you can detail them. You can do a lot with them.
Yeah, I miss those blue box locomotives. I used to spend a lot of time doing that. But the stirrups break off on them, and all the stirrups were broken off on this one. So I had to bend me some brass ones and stick on there. But besides that, and stuck me some of the Katie wheels and couplers on it, and took the horn hooks off of it. But
right. Yeah, you got to get rid of those plastic wheels. Those are.
So it didn't turn out too bad, and spent a couple days weathering it up. So. Yeah.
Well, I would say let me put a sound car in there.
Yeah, it won't work for my railroad.
Talking to American Limited Models, you saw on the last show, I suggested that with George sitting here and Robert Steers sitting right on this side of me where you're sitting, Daniel. And I tell you what, that little comment is going to come to fruition. They are, in fact, going to put sound cars in some of these freight car models that they're coming
Wow,
out with.
nice.
Oh, neat.
And that isn't just limited to HO scale, that'll also be in the narrow gauge O scale cars and the narrow gauge HON 3 cars that they're coming out with. On the table, we've got two of the, actually one of them is a Santa Fe car that they've come out with. They've come out with like 8 or 10 different Santa Fe paint schemes. In fact, Robert Steers on that prototype modeler show that we had introduced 3 more cars that I don't have in the collection that were just announced on that show.
Right, water cars, right?
These actually hauled various things like gasoline. Santa Fe would load up a whole train of these and send it to the part of the country where gasoline was at the cheapest price or diesel fuel was at the cheapest price. And then they'd roll the entire consist to the various places for fueling depots for the locomotives, and they'd do it again. They'd send the whole freight line somewhere else, wherever the commodity price of fuel was the cheapest, and it was kind of a good game plan, and it worked. The water car is this BNSF one, and I do have videotape and photographs of this running because I remember shooting it. It's really neat. It's a nice paint job. I mean, we come to expect with all of the manufacturers these days absolutely crystal clear laser type painting that they put on these, pad printing and painting. And this is second to none with regards to that. They're both wonderful models, and check them out at AmericanLimitedModels.com. There's a lot of neat stuff coming out in September, and you will find all of the new products being announced for the very first time on this show. And I'm very proud of the fact that we're able to do that for the manufacturers and get the word out right away. So, James, you've been in Kansas.
Yeah.
And tell us about the wonderful trip and all the stuff you saw out there.
Well, so yeah, we've spent the last couple weeks visiting family in Kansas. Last week, probably most of interest to you guys, was Threshing Days in Gossel, Kansas, and this is an annual festival that they have on the first weekend of August of every year, and they bring out all sorts of old agricultural equipment. So you got the old Farmall tractors. You had a few Caterpillars. I think I saw a few tracked ones as well. There was an Alice Chalmers with tracks on it. But yeah, all the old equipment. They had a demonstration of all these old oil tractors, including a Rumley that they started up,
Oh, cool.
and that was kind of interesting. Another tractor that you started up with a shotgun shell that you used that to get the initial spark for the diesel to take over and get cranking.
holy.
Yeah, so
I've seen that before.
so
it actually works.
It actually works. Yeah. Now the key is that you make sure that you remove any lead from that shell. There was a guy that accidentally had lead on it, and that was a very unfortunate mistake. Yeah, that was an injury. But the neatest part to me was they had 2 steam traction engines under steam, one from Case and one from Avery. And this Avery traction engine was a really neat one in that it was a undermount traction engine, so it looked just like a locomotive. As a matter of fact, the owner of this traction engine, Jerry Taves, had outfitted it with a Santa Fe steam whistle. I did not get a recording of that whistle, but I heard it, and it was like awesome. It was like hearing 3415, which I talked about last time. But they had that locomotive or that traction engine running a sawmill, and that was pretty neat witnessing that. And then they had the other one running a threshing machine, and they had saved back several, I guess, shocks of wheat that they then fed into the traction machine as a demonstration. But yeah, it was pretty neat. They had really long belts to them between the traction engine and the threshing machine. The reason for those belts, of course, is fire hazard. That you want to keep the very hot steam locomotive away from the, or steam traction engine, away from the threshing machine as far as you can. I just remember growing up, any number of crops would be lost in a year because of a bad fueling incident on a combine or a spark or something like that.
Still happens today.
And
Yeah, it does.
to cap things off, we were driving back to my in-laws afterwards, and we hit a chicken. So it,
Why was the chicken crossing the road?
I don't know.
It didn't turn out well for him.
I think it tried to prove to the possum that it could be done, but didn't go so well.
So did you stop and get dinner?
You know, my aunt or my mother-in-law actually asked me that, but we didn't. So
That's what people would do.
Yeah.
Hey, on the table, I know you're going to talk about your locomotive, but I failed to talk about these 2 Caterpillars.
Yeah.
I was
And
wondering why you forgot about
I
those.
think I believe that's 1/18 scale, and
Yeah.
it's close to 122.3, which is what the flat car is. And these are, in fact, Norscott Group models. And I've got 4 of these because what I did was I run these on the Garden Railroad outside.
Yeah.
They were very inexpensive models. The tracks and everything are operational. They're really quite amazing models. But they look absolutely fantastic in 122.3 scale on flat cars.
Yes,
Oh, those are
nice.
those are the old-fashioned ones too. I noticed they have the crank start and all that stuff going on. Yeah.
So it's
That's
perfect for that era.
I want to say it's 1930s era.
yeah.
Exactly. Good job, Daniel. So you've got your Santa Fe locomotive here, and you showed it off at the RPM show.
Yeah, I was at the RPM show, and I brought along tonight because I wanted to test it on the layout. When I had it last time, I know we showed it running on that diorama there at the very end. I tried to run it around the layout, but you have that dual gauge rail.
Yep.
And I had the gear tower bottoms were riding about 0.2 of a millimeter too low.
Okay, so they were.
And so they were high centering all the time. And so I corrected that in the mesh, printed a new one. I mean, 0.2 of a millimeter. Can you see that? I can't see it. I can't see it.
I've seen
glasses.
locomotives from various manufacturers that in fact do that, and it takes nothing to sand it down or grind it down, just a little fraction of an amount to get it to clear the switch frogs and the various railroad crossings on this layout.
But it seems to have worked well in testing, and I'd like to thank the guys from the Ohio Valley layout that basically allowed me to walk on.
Valley switching and sipping.
Sipping and
that's
switching
right.
Ohio Valley
That's-
Sipping and Switching
Right.
Society, their modular layout there.
Right.
That they gave me walk-on operating privileges on it. So that was
Cool.
So I got to test it there. So that was very nice of them. It was a pleasure meeting everyone, of course.
Before we get to Daniel, I said on the RPM show, you guys heard me go on my rant about not staying in the basement all the time, because that's what our modelers tend to do, and cherish your marriage, because it's very important to do that. But one couple that I failed to talk about is Karen Hood and Rand Hood. Those two also I should have brought up on that show. They model together. They're an actual team when they go out in the field and do research together. Rock and roll, you guys. I love it when you ask me if it's red or green for the hot sauce on the chili that she makes. She makes incredible chili. I know Austin Eller could test. Yeah, I know. There you go.
Yeah.
We're going to go back out there, Austin, and have some fun with Rand and Karen and rock and roll Rand Hood. We all love you guys. You're another great example of a couple that are happily married in this hobby and work together. And if you've got a partner like that, cherish it and buy her some flowers and take good care of her. Because
on that note, I'd like to thank Allison for being such a good sport, letting me go to the RPM meet on our anniversary. That was that. I have a wonderful wife. What can I say?
You absolutely do. She's a real sweetheart, and you guys have 2 beautiful children. I saw that picture on Facebook of y'all in Kansas, and it just touched my heart. It's a good one, and that's what's great about this show. It's a happy show, and we talk about stuff like that. Now let's get down to some brass tacks of modeling and building layouts. If you go back to around July or June or July of 2016, look at the What's Neat video at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. There is a folding layout that I worked with that Athearn had, and in fact, I didn't build this layout. I was asked to kind of resurrect and rehab that layout. In other words, redo the scenery and refinish it from just regular oak plywood to a nice black finish. And that's what I did. I put down the fake fir, I relayed the Bachmann Easy Track, and I actually ballasted over that, which came out to be really good because the Bachmann Easy Track had just the right track profile to look good with ballast on top of it. I then also stained it black with some really nice polyurethane stain mix. So I only had to put 2 coats of that on to give it a real high gloss finish. And I think I was getting that ready to do the show in Kansas City. I believe that's where we set that layout up. I'll show you that at the end here. The fake fir looked good, the track looked good, but the trick to this layout was the fact that you could fold it up, and it had long piano hinges on it. I had a gentleman ask me this week in email. He said, I don't remember what video that was. Can you please remind me? And I emailed him back and said, in fact, I've got it scheduled to talk about that layout on this show. And so hats off to him for reminding me that I was going to do this. But the piano hinges are the key. They're long hinges. They stretched across the entire width of the layout, and then it had a backing of about 6 or 8 inches, and then the fold. So it folded up like a suitcase so that all the scenery and the mountains were self-contained and protected inside. It looked really great. I got a clip here of Jeff Otto from Oak Hill Motor Road Track Supply helping me load it into the monster truck as I got ready to drive it to Kansas City. And now I'll show you a video clip of it in Kansas City with a bunch of happy folks and folks just checking it out
that's
as
awesome.
it was
That is
running
neat.
in the show. And yes, I was standing on a very high ladder to shoot this clip. So I wanted to talk about that. Check it out. You can vary the construction of this and experiment with the same type of an operation where you can have a layout set up in the den, set up in the family room, and then fold it up and stick it in the garage when you don't want to operate it. It's the best thing that you can do when you're not building a permanent layout, but you still want to have time to run
Great
trains.
for apartment living.
Absolutely
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
May have to try that these next 6 months.
I haven't, of course, I haven't been to the shows because I've been on the road since it's the RPM. And I just want to say that a lot of people came up and introduced themselves and talked to me, and it's just like I've known them, and I just really appreciate everybody that come up and said something and say they watch our show and buy our products, and it was great to meet a lot of new faces out there.
Amen.
Yeah, it was great for me too, And
Tell us about that, because last week's show, or the week of the RPM show, you were running camera, and I did allude to the fact that you had a lot of people walk up to you and say, "Hey, you're Daniel Coombs. We've watched you grow up on the show."
Yeah.
And we literally have. I love to run that Boy Scout uniform clip at the beginning of the show.
Oh no.
But look at how much, you've even got whiskers now.
Okay.
And you've got a job.
Yes.
And we'll work on getting you a girlfriend.
Oh well.
Baby steps.
But tell us what kind of what's your opinion of the show? What was your experience?
So for my first time in 2019, it was, I don't know what word to describe it. It was just like phenomenal. And now with going back this year, I was able to kind of meet some of the guys I had met in 2019 and kind of get back with them and see what they were been up to. Of course, again, the new faces I actually met. And of course, it was cool talking to those folks.
There you go.
And overall, I think that show was another success.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
they had more people this year than
Yeah,
they
they
had in
did.
the past, and they're talking about
What was the
expanding
total
it next year.
attendance?
750.
715.
Yeah, I knew something like. And they're talking about
I knew it was
expanding it
high.
to the whole convention center next year.
yes.
They can certainly
Yeah,
do that.
It's going to be a great show.
It
Next,
will be.
and next year's show is going to be within 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the NMRA show, which
Yeah.
will also be a home run here in St. Louis.
Yep.
Yeah.
I talked to Brad Joseph about that, in fact, this week. Just yesterday, in fact, he called me last night. And I guess you've already started attending the planning
Yeah,
meetings.
that's right.
Tell
That's
us
right.
what's some of the things that are shaking out. Are you still doing the advertising on the bags?
That's right. Yeah, I'm doing the advertising, trying to sell the bags, the spaces in the program. New for this year, we're going to actually try to have sponsors, so that you get your name on a session or on a clinic or something like that, or you can sponsor a clinic room, those kinds of things, as well as selling table space in the hotel itself that's affiliated with the convention. So there's several opportunities there.
Talking about sponsors, I talked to Jenny Kirk today, Jennifer Kirk out in England and the UK. We love you, Jenny. And she's bringing in 2 accounts for our show where there's these European companies that would like to break into the American market. And they thought that our platform, the way we present the models and explain things thoroughly, would be a good way to go about doing that. And James Regier, you're going to be in charge of one of these accounts because it's all electronics and I have no idea exactly what it is they're selling.
Oh, okay.
So once we learn about it, we'll be able to convey that to the viewers in a way that's understandable.
Okay.
Very similar to what Dan Michio does when he comes here and tries to explain the UWT 50s and the UWT 100s
Yeah.
and how the programming works. I don't know how it works when he's in the room talking about it, but during the edit, I listen to it, or during the show that I produce, I actually listen to it, and it's methodical in his description of things. It's really simple.
Not to mention it's good information too.
And the beauty of it, and it works a lot this way with a lot of the model railroading products that we enjoy.
There you go.
Is that the people that are designing them have it all methodically thought out and everything figured out in their heads, so that by the time they get to us, the consumers, they just work. And there's just so much effort that goes into making those products that just work.
That's
so
neat.
Yeah.
On last week's show, Steve Mantia was talking about the buildings from Menards, and in readers' comments, people they got joy out of looking at some of those pre-lit, pre-built, pre-finished buildings.
Yeah.
You don't have to model it, you just put it in place on the layout and do your finished scenery around it.
Right.
Well, I know I've seen that UFO with the cow.
Isn't that cool? Oh my
I've seen that on James Wright's layout.
That's neat.
Several iterations of it.
So in a future show, Steve, I know you've got a lot more of those neat buildings. You should bring some more and talk about them. Is that cool?
I'd love to bring them, yes.
That's awesome. All right, you were going to say something, Campbell.
Yeah, I was. You know, we don't
That's
give
how
us
it
a
is.
breath between conversations here, and you jump from one to the other. But I was going to say, ask Daniel what he bought at the RPM show.
Oh, did you spend money, Daniel? Now remember, your mom's watching this
I
show.
know. Sorry, Mom. Well, you know, I went on ahead and I thought to myself, I can't hold it anymore. I had to get the proto throttle.
Oh, there you go.
I couldn't.
He bought the proto throttle. Okay.
Yep.
Iowa Scaled Engineering.
Iowa Scaled.
Yes, I
Right.
went over
Now
right
that's
to their.
that throttle that's got the levers on
It's
it.
got the notch, the 8
real
notches,
locomotive.
and then you got the whole get up of basically a simulated mock of an EMD control stand. So I went to Iowa Scale Engineering booth, and one of the gentlemen escorted me to Spring Creek Model Trains.
Yeah,
Dave
and
Zucker.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I
man.
like.
Here
Yeah,
it is. Here's a quick video.
Oh, we have video.
Oh
Yes.
yes, purchasing the throttle.
Oh,
No,
the proud papa getting his new.
Yes.
I tell you what, I had my resolve
cool.
there too that I was not going to buy anything, and I saw those proto throttles, and I thought, well, those are neat, but I'm not going to buy them. Then I walked up to
Did you
Spring
buy one
Creek.
too?
No,
Okay.
Oh.
but I
thought-
saw they had 3 numbers of those Santa Fe ex-Coppel hopper cars, you know, from Intermountain that you have a demonstrator unit of.
Are you hearing that cicada?
Is there a cicada down here?
Oh,
There's a cicada in the room.
dude. What?
Dude,
Hear that?
How did that happen?
It's really loud.
that's, wow.
Okay. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah, but
we're going to move him out of here tonight.
But yeah, I saw 3 of those Coppel cars, you know, with consecutive numbers on them, and that was it for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What else you got to talk about, Daniel? I think you wanted to. Was that it? The throttle? Or
Yeah,
were we
the
talking
proto
about-
throttle, and I'm still trying to get it customized. And of course, with the dozens of consists that I've got, I got to program it to where, like the 4-position notches for the headlights and the rear lights, to where it's okay. What's going on?
Basement or right outside the door?
I have to cave here. So I bought something. It's at Iowa Scaled Engineered too.
Oh,
It's called their
sound bites.
their
Oh,
sound
no way. That's coming from
cicada.
That's you!
So when I purchased this from Iowa Scaled Engineering, you guys said, "Now wait a minute. Are you going to put this on your layout, or are you going to put it somewhere in a room?" I said, "Well, I was thinking about putting it on my layout, but wait a minute. I know exactly what it is." So they have.
So where is it? Is it under the table?
It is under the table. It's right here. So they first thing they came out with is the cicada sound. But they also have the crossing bells, which I got one of the e-bells, and they're going to have other sounds coming out that you can put on your layout, and it randomly
Well, I'll be darned. That's
make
cool.
sound.
That is neat.
So I've got
That's
it running
what's neat this week.
off of a 9-volt battery and a switch.
That
and
is
it just,
cool.
Man, if this was April Fool's Day,
It would work just fine. But anyway,
everybody at home is also rolling on the floor right now.
I know.
anyways,
And suddenly I feel like that's not going to be, you know, an edit. You
it
know?
won't be. It's staying in right now. But anyways, to end it, after my part, I want to say that those guys at Iowa Scale Engineering did a great job on that throttle. It's a great product. You know,
their
I had
products
some
are great.
trouble
Yeah,
setting it
Scott
up.
Thornton is a class
What?
act.
Yeah.
He really is a good
It's
man.
a beautiful throttle for
with
sure.
some quick emails back and forth, I was able to solve it. And then, like I said, I just got to program it and go from there.
Yep.
All right, guys, this is the best hobby in the world. I want to say before we close out this show, number
I
166.
got one more thing.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
go ahead.
I was able to meet Ron from Ron's Trains and Things about a month
Ron
or so
Mark.
ago. Ron Mark.
yeah.
And we were talking about track cleaning. He says, you know, I came across a new product that's absolutely extraordinary for track cleaning. He says, people that have used this said they have not cleaned their track in 4 years. And I thought, I got to have some of that stuff.
What is it?
So I got that at Midwest Model. It's called No Ox ID A Special. And it's
oil.
a magnetic
It is?
or cleaner
Synthetic lubricant.
lubricant, and it works wonders. I would suggest going back and looking at his video from April 27th on stop turning your track with these products. and he shows how to use that. He talks about cleaning the track with mineral oil and then just rubbing your fingers on it and then rubbing that down the track. And I can already tell from what areas I have done, it works very, very well.
Excellent.
So you got no starts, no stops to your engine.
Oh,
whatsoever
it's like
without,
I have
power
a
packs.
it's like I have a keep alive in my locomotives now.
There you go.
Because
that's
great.
I was having some issues with contacts on switches and things, and that solved it
Took it right away.
remarkably. Yeah, something as simple
That's a
as
neat
that.
product.
So
Prevents oxidation, and it's got an expiration date of 2/6/2031.
Whoa. Okay.
What show number are we going to be on in 2031?
Think about it. Too much.
That's February of 2031. What
So
show
it's
number will that be?
as far as I know, Midwest Model Railroad is the only place that has it available. There may be somewhere, but I would
Fascinating.
highly recommend the product. I don't think if you get it, you would not be disappointed. Okay, I'm through with the surprises, Ken. I'll let you close it.
Okay, the What's
right.
Neat show for August is coming out probably today or tomorrow. Usually Joe Fugate releases that on the 15th of the month. And that is George Bogatuk showing us how he did the 440. It's a 38-minute long video. George did the complete edit on this and did the entire show for me so that I could spend more time with my family back in June when I had to get that one out on time. Thank you very much, George Bogatuk, for doing that for me. I really appreciate that.
Wonder where he got the builder plates for that one.
You made them for him. All right, guys, this is the best hobby in the world, the show that's made for you by us, simple model railroaders that just kind of like to have fun on Saturday night, and I'll share the fun with you all out there in YouTube land. So with that, let's go run some trains.